All right, Alfie. How are you all this evening of your time as you create time to exist?
Good. Thank you. Good. How are you?
Greetings to you all. It's nice to sense you again.
Yeah.
We shall begin this interaction this evening of your time with a reminder. You are all your own universe. You are all that is, each and every one of you. You are involved in, shall we say, a rather elaborate arrangement with which and in which you find yourself from time to time asking the question, well, I am under the understanding that I am all that is, but only in an intellectual sense. For I have forgotten my connection. I have forgotten my ecstasy. And this will be the brief discussion we do have this evening of your time. The idea of forgetting. The idea of why one would choose to forget their ecstasy. Why one would choose to forget their connection with all that is. Many times you stare in disbelief. This cannot be so. I would not choose to forget such a thing. You have indeed, as we have told you, chosen this. We constantly do remind you of your choice. For again, when you do realize that it was your choice, you do own it and can then change it to whatever it is that you do prefer. But back to the issue at hand. The reasoning why one would choose to forget their ecstasy. This is rather a multidimensional concept with no one actual reason per se. But we may point out to you that there is a very great purpose in the idea of forgetting your power, forgetting your all-knowingness. One of the ideas of all that is the idea that all that is all-knowing. No surprises. It always does know all things at all time. The concept came up, shall we say, colloquially, within all that is, of the idea that could only be experienced by forgetting some portion of that all-knowingness. For when you do know all, as we have said, there are no surprises. You have chosen within this reality to experience the idea of surprise. And in fact, the reasoning, one of what we perceive, the main reasons for this choice, the choice to forget, is it does allow you a concept which, shall we say, does not occur otherwise within all that is. For all that is always all that is. That is the idea of discovery. When you already know everything, there is nothing per se to discover. In order to introduce the idea and the ability to discover, you must forget that you already know it all. Otherwise, there is nothing left to discover.
That makes sense.
Therefore, in a very creative fashion, you have solidified yourself with and within a particular focus, which has allowed you to discover things as if for the first time. Very good space. Very nice place to be if you choose to create it that way. So understand, do not regret that you have forgotten, or do not regret to forget, for it brings along with it your ability to discover things for the first time. at least in a seeming fashion. When you do make a discovery, you have the apparency that this is a new idea. When you go to your institutions of learning, you perceive that you do learn these ideas for the first time. Oh, this is the first time I have been exposed to this idea. In fact, that is not so, but can only seem and be so with the mechanism of forgetting. And realize, in actuality, not within these parameters, but when you remove yourself from them, your process of discovery, your process of learning, your process of finding out things for the first time are simply remembering. So you have forgetting and you have remembering. You could not remember if you didn't forget. Therefore, we submit to you, there is much purpose in the idea. Now, the degree of forgetfulness which you have participated within has, shall we say, been very great. You are, as we have spoken, reincarnational beings at the end of a cycle that we have described as your exploration of limitation. Within and closer to the initiation of that cycle, you have actually forgotten so much. You have forgotten that you have forgotten. And you have forgotten what it is you are trying to remember. Or for that matter, forgotten you are trying to remember anything. This has been the pattern in your, as you say, past life. Now you are within a transitional, a transformational incarnation, within which, shall we say, you were born, even born with less of the idea of this forgetfulness, more of your memory or re-memory of your ecstasy, of your origin. Within this actual lifetime, in your process of, as you say, growing up, you have remembered quite a bit. Shall we say a lot more within this one lifespan than all the others combined. There are some exceptions to this idea, and we shall discuss those at a future interaction. However, for all intents and purposes of this discussion, you are remembering far more than them all combined. Therefore, you may still take the opportunity of the remainder of this lifespan to experience the vestiges of forgetfulness, to experience the idea of discovery, remembering. But again, you already know it all. Therefore, when you learn something, quote, learn something for the first time, understand the more precise mechanism is you are remembering what you already know. Are you all following along?
Yes. Except Barbara.
May I interrupt with a question?
One moment. We will, in a short period, allow for the sharing. The degree of forgetfulness vary from individual to individual. Many of you, prior to these incarnations, have, shall we say, congregated made agreements to experience the idea of this forgetfulness en masse. And as you do remember more and more, you remember each other more and more. For you did indeed make these agreements together. Therefore, this process of forgetfulness was, shall we say, a group endeavor. The process of remembering is a group endeavor. The process of discovery is a group endeavor. And therefore, as you do remember more and more, you will find yourself attracting others that also may have, shall we say, better memory, more remembering. And you will find yourself connecting on many levels with many individuals, some of which you have, as you say, already met, others which you have not yet met, or have only interacted with in the idea of your dream state, or on other levels of your consciousness as you create them. However, you will find more of a recognition between members. You will find more of the idea of familiarity between certain individuals. And this is your agreement to remember together. You forgot together. Now you are beginning to remember together. We enjoy greatly the observation of this process. It is not that within fourth density, shall we say, you remember it all yet. For part of the parameters of physicality is a degree of that forgetfulness, not so much the idea of forgetting your ecstasy, but more the idea of concentrating on, and we mean this colloquially, for this affects us quite differently, but the idea of one thing at a time, at the exclusion of all other things. When you have your mind on one item, one idea, in actuality, more than it's that you have your mind on one idea, it is that you are actually excluding 99.9% of all other realities. We have discussed that your physical senses, which you have considered your windows to the world, are indeed more accurately filters that indeed filter out 99.9% of all reality and allow you to focus in on the idea of this reality. But again, much more accurately defined as the idea of filters than windows. Therefore, within fourth density, you know what you need to know when you need to know it. But there is some sense of focus that does remain. So do not worry. You will not be lost. You will not be confused. It is a very nice place to come, and we are looking forward to your arrival. As we are looking forward, colloquially speaking, to our arrival in the fifth density, our beginnings of exploration of non-physicality. We wish once again to thank you all for forgetting us and then remembering that we are there. For upon this re-memory, we are allowed to share with you in this way. In appreciation for your willingness to remember us, we ask you now, how may I be of service to you? Sharing